Unsolicited advice.
What you whispering for? Yo, what's unsolicited advice? Take it or leave it.
Sometimes men disappear because they feel like their effort is not being reciprocated.
Talk about it.
So hear me out. A lot of women feel like their approach to dating is, you as a man have to prove to me you are worthy of my time, my energy, and me being more vulnerable to you. And because of what you've been through, you think that's the right way to do it. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with a man who's actually serious and he's seeing you're holding back, you got walls up, he has concerns that you're wasting his time. So now he falls off because he's like, all right, she's tripping, she's not really making any effort. But because there's still a desire there, because he still likes her, I think the comment, the like, is a temperature check. Let me see how she'll respond. Let me see if I can still reignite something here. But it all stemmed from, are we actually making a mutual effort to get to know each other?
Okay.
So just make sure, before you start throwing all kinds of accusations at the man, ask yourself, was I coming correct in this process or not?
Cook up, sir.
Yeah, that video got to me right there. Dating can be difficult because men often face the pressure of initiating contact, dealing with higher standards, rejection, navigating social expectations of being assertive, and feeling the need to appear confident all the time. Sometimes that can lead to, anxiety or, just discomfort when approaching women, especially with modern dating apps and social norms that go on nowadays. I was born in 1980, so I grew up in a different time where you really had to communicate. There was no other distractions. It was just you and that person. And back then you kind of knew, you at least knew who liked you and who didn't like you. You knew the good girls from the bad girls. And, it was, things kind of were in a better, things were kind of in a better place then. Nowadays, everything's way more chaotic. You can't tell what is real and what's fake anymore. And I know I always get on here and I talk about social media a lot because it does control a lot of our lives and a lot of how we navigate dating, as it pertains to men. One of the biggest issues is that you don't have a whole lot of options. You don't, and it's not it's not a foregone conclusion that women have way more options than men, and they know it now. With social media, they know exactly who likes them and who wants them. For guys, it's still a bit of a mystery. Girls still play hard to get. They ain't gonna necessarily come out and say it because they don't want to they don't want to look stupid. They don't want to be the fools. And, a lot of them just don't want to make it seem desperate or whatever. So, but for women, they know. I mean, you got OnlyFans. All they got to do is get on there and show their toes. And millions of guys give them money, or they get on, any social media platform and they show their bodies off. And, you're getting millions of likes and views and things like that. It's not so easy for the man. And I'm not sitting here trying to advocate or come up with some type of debate to make it seem like men just have it the worst. But I'm just stating the facts of how the dating scene is for men and why men are disappearing. They're disappearing, or they're pushing women away, or they're just not, I guess in a sense, going through the process of courting a woman anymore. One of the big things is when you incorporate kids into the situation. If you're going to date a woman, most of them are single women now. So most of them already have a child, if not multiple children. So one of the biggest things you have to face is lack of time to get out and date. They can't go on dates because most of them can't find babysitters, or they can't spend a lot of time out. They have to get back home. Also, you know, that's why a lot of them tell you nowadays, you know, they want a man with their own place, because you can't ever go to theirs. You know, a lot of them will tell you, oh, well, you know, you can't come to my place. I don't feel comfortable with you around my kids just yet. And some use that as an excuse. You know, it's a way of playing a game. Some of them are very serious because they are protective of their children and they're trying to do what's right. But when you incorporate kids, that puts a monkey wrench into dating. It may not be fair, but it's just the way things are. But I would say kids are a big reason why a lot of guys disappear or push women away, or just aren't consistent when it comes to courting a woman. I'm not always saying that it's, you know, I'm going to keep saying this, that I know it's not fair, but it's just the game. It's just part of the game. You know, it's just one of those things that you can't really, you can't get away from it. Another thing is this mythical or fantasy-like checklist that women have, that they have to check off in order for you to be worthy enough of their attention or their time, or for them to have any interest in you. So, you know, it's so many expectations. You know, you got to look a certain way. You got to be a certain height. You know, you have to have perfect teeth. You have to have perfect bone structure. You got to be muscular. You know, you have to make a certain amount of money. You have to have a certain type of job. You have to have no kids. And even if you have no kids, you know, you still have to meet a certain expectation of that, to where they either expect you not to want anymore, or if you're going to have one with them, then you're going to have to take on other responsibilities. You know, they're going to add on to that checklist as well. But there's so many different things that you have to check off with a woman before you can either start to break down the barriers that they put up. It can become very difficult. You know, you get to a point where you have an epiphany. It's like, hold on, I know what my worth is, but why am I pouring myself out to this person and they're not proving anything to me? You know, sometimes you forget that it can become a distraction. For some women, they use it as a distraction, because by the time you've met all the expectations and you look up and you start trying to see what their worth is, you know, you're already in deep. Or you start figuring out, oh, they're not even worth my time, but I spent most of the time trying to prove that I'm worth theirs. So it's just it's a vicious cycle. But this is one of the reasons why men disappear. They disappear, or they're not consistent in courting you. The whole pressure of initiating. So the pressure of initiating for men is, I'll put it to you like this. Most men aren't afraid to come up and speak to you because we're used to rejection. Women aren't used to rejection. If anything, they have to spend most of the day rejecting men. They do it so much so that they can go without. It's like I said, they know what their options are. They know who likes them. So anytime they want to pull the trigger, they know that they can get somebody. For guys, it's not necessarily the same thing. But we already have practice with rejection. So we're not necessarily afraid of rejection. We're just tired of it. So, you know, you just grow tired of it. So it's like, it's not even worth it. It's like, I'm good. You know, I'd rather just come to me. You know, and for women, you know, they look at that as arrogance. It's like, oh, you expect a woman to come to you? It's like, yeah, because you spend so much time putting yourself out there just to get rejected. You have to understand, when a man approaches you, he's coming to you with confidence. She's trying to sell himself to you. So for a woman to look at him and say, you know, you being thirsty, or, oh, you know, you're not my type, or I'm not interested, or you cutting them off and just saying I got a man, but you probably could be lying. For a guy, it's like, well, what do I do? Let's just say that he leaves you alone and he goes back to his seat or whatever, but then he notices that just some random dude comes up to you, and now all of a sudden you're entertaining him. And so now in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what do I have to do? She's accepting someone else, but I'm not good enough. There was something that I just didn't offer in the moment that she was attracted to. Maybe I just wasn't aesthetically pleasing. So initiating is like a fear of rejection, especially when you're approaching a woman. But most guys aren't afraid. A guy will holler at you. They don't care what you look like. If they want you, they're going to try to talk to you. So it's not that fear. It's more of it's like we've gotten lazy. It's like, well, what's the point? It's almost like depression setting in. Like, what's the point? She's probably just going to turn me down anyway. So, I'll just wait until she shows interest in me. And like I said, for some girls, they look at that as being arrogant, or, oh, you being sassy. It's like, no, that's not being sassy. It's like, well, what's the point? Why would I want to waste my breath just for you to keep practicing rejecting men? Like, no. I'd rather wait until a girl shows that she has some type of interest in me. Then I can exercise all my energy in focusing on that person that actually shows that she likes me. So it's just one of those things you just have to be careful about how you reject a man. You don't necessarily have to reject them. You can listen to what they have to say. You can take their number. You don't give them yours, but you can take theirs. You can at least do that. So I mentioned earlier about the dating platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, so right now that there's such a high rate of rejection, because like I said, when you know what your value is and guys are constantly throwing themselves at you, you can reject people all day long. You can literally go for a very long time not wanting any attention because you already know who likes you on a daily basis. Somebody's constantly in your inbox, or constantly texting you, or even at your job, or at the gas station, or at the grocery store. Somebody's constantly hitting on you. Being a female, they are constantly coming to you, advertising themselves. So it's easy for a woman to reject you. So it's such a high rejection rate right now. So a lot of guys are experiencing low self-esteem. It's like, well, why do that? I'd rather just stay at home and play the video game. Like, why am I going to go out and spend all this money on a woman that probably just here for a free date, and then she's just going to go and talk to some other guy she's interested in? She's just using me. When I can just spend this money on myself. I can just go buy some more sneakers or play a video game, or I could just spend this money on, some wings or a steak or whatever. I could waste my money on something else, and waste my money and my time doing other things. So the rejection rate is a very dangerous thing right now. And it's one of the reasons why people aren't staying together anymore. Once people know what their options are, it becomes a dangerous game. And I know I keep bringing up certain keywords, but there's a reason why I'm doing it, because I want you to understand there's a method to all the madness. It's as much as people try to say, oh, well, no, it's just, you just want to cheat, or you just want to do this, and that. It's like, no, nowadays it's about options. Once a person knows what their options are, things get very, very dangerous. It gets very dangerous as far as your willingness to get out there in the dating scene. I think that's why so many guys are quick to just want to have a night of intimacy, or, hey, let's just go get something to eat and go do whatever we got to do, and I'll take you home. Because you've already seen what the end result is, and trying to have a relationship, trying to please somebody, trying to constantly live up to sometimes an impossible expectation leads to a higher rejection rate, because the guys don't come as correct as a woman wants them to anymore, because guys have unlocked the code. They figured out what's the point. You know, what's the point of doing all this when we can just skip? We can skip A and B and go straight to C and D. You know, because we watch you waste a lot of time with this other dude, but you want me to go through this gauntlet to prove myself. It's like, no, I've seen the guys that you dated, but yet, since I'm a nice guy or I'm coming to you in a correct way, you're gonna put me through it? Nah. So it's like I said, it's a dangerous game when it's coming to the matters of the heart. You know, and you do have to protect your heart. And sometimes I think women forget that, you know, men have hearts too. We spend so much time trying to protect a woman's heart, we forget that men are fragile as well. Another way that a man will start to disappear is misinterpreting signals. Like I said earlier, you know, you could be nice to a girl and in their mind you're coming off as thirsty, or you know, he always trying to talk to me. Why is he always, you know, why is he being nice to me? Nowadays you can't really be nice to a girl. If you're nice to a girl, they take it as you're trying to talk to them or you're trying to flirt with them. You know, even if you display manners or you try to show chivalry, even it could, just because, you know, you could be just, like I said, a coworker or just a girl just around. You know, if you constantly try to be nice and be a gentleman, nowadays it comes off as being thirsty, or, you know, he always trying to talk to me. It's like, well, I can't even be nice anymore. So a lot of times guys can't read cues, like little subtle cues for, you know, from potential partners. We can't, you know, take hints anymore because we ignore them, because we think, you know what, if I jump on something because the girl is being nice to me, what if she rejects me by saying, no, I just like you as a friend, you know? But in my mind, I'm reading certain, you know, little hints that you're giving me. So it leads to confusion about the interest level and, you know, potential partnership. A lot of girls aren't very clear in if they like you or not. They will lead you on. I call it back pocketing, where they kind of put you in their back pocket until they're done doing whatever they're doing, and then they show interest. So a lot of girls do that. They'll back pocket you, you know. They'll lead you on. It's like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna keep them in the friend zone, and then when I'm fed up with men or I'm drowning in my sorrows, oh, I'm gonna go back to this guy because he was so nice and he was such a gentleman, and I need that in my life. You got to be careful about that. You know, you can misinterpret certain signals being a man, because women will confuse you. They will confuse you. You know, I've always said women change their flavors every day. When they wake up every day, like one day they might be all over you. They might have so much interest in you, and the next day their mind changes. It's like their flavor. It's almost like Baskin Robbins. You know, 31 flavors. They change their flavor every day. Sometimes every moment. It just depends on what they're into in the morning. Some days they want a sweet, kind, honest, God-fearing man. Another day they just want a thug. They want some type of adventure. It's just, like I said, the signals get crossed so much, and there's so much confusion because a lot of times the woman doesn't know what they want. They just know they want constant stimulation. And with that being said, when the signals are misinterpreted, now you're in a level of coming off as a creep, because you're just trying to be nice. You're doing everything that they say. You know, why don't, you know, you should call me every day. You should text me every day. You should see how I'm doing. You should ask me out. You should want to take me on a date. You should want to see me. So when you do these things and they're not reciprocated or they're not shown as being appreciated, it's coming off as creepy now, because they're not necessarily letting you go, but they're also not letting you know that they're not interested either. They're back pocketing you. You know, you're exerting out all this energy trying to prove yourself and doing these things that you think that they want, and they're not being clear. So you have to be careful about being a creep, or what they view as being overly aggressive or predatory or, too assertive, even though they say they want a man that's assertive. They want you to step up and lead. So when you try to lead, no, they still want to control the narrative. So, like I said, that leads to a man disappearing and not being consistent when it comes to courting you. So you just have to be careful about that. You have to be careful about what you really want. I know I'm saying all this stuff, but in reality, things do need to change. We do need to get back to simplifying dating and trying to be in a relationship. I'm always of the mindset of being optimistic. I'll say that all the time. You should be more optimistic. Take chances. You've already shown that you take chances. That's another thing too. A guy is noticing all these chances you're taking, especially if you have several kids. If you got a bunch of kids or they constantly see you with these guys that even we know that are assholes, you're willing to take those chances, but you won't take a chance with me. Or you won't take a chance with a guy that's going to treat you right. I've always said with women, their mindset is it's better to deal with the devil you know versus the devil you don't. So they rather deal with a guy that they know because they know how to handle that situation because they're so used to being in it versus a guy that gives them something new and different because that's going to scare them way more. And that goes back to misinterpreting signals and the fear of rejection, because a girl will reject you. They will be all in one day and then the next day they'll ghost you. But yet they question why you're disappearing. They question why you're disappearing. That one is just food for thought. My advice is we have to, that you know. Let's stop acting like you don't know. You know who's right for you. You know who's going to treat you right. So let's stop making these mistakes. Let's stop giving ourselves to people that don't even want us or is just here to use us. Let's stop wasting our time with people that aren't consistent or that want you to do things their way, only for things not to work out. Let's just do better. But that's just my unsolicited advice. You can take it or leave it.